Hello, dear ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, in St. Louis, Missouri state of United States of America, started a massive round-robin tournament. Magnus Carlsen, Alireza Firouzja, Jan Nepomniachtchi, Fabiano Caruana, and 6 more strong chess players will compete in strong, massive Sinquiefield Cup. And yesterday, during the first round, Magnus Carlsen was facing a world chess title challenger Jan Nepomniachtchi. What happened in this game? How Magnus Carlsen managed to trick Jan Nepomniachtchi in the opening? All these answers you will see in this recap. Hello, my dear subscribers. Magnus Carlsen yesterday played with white pieces against Jan Nepomniachtchi. Time control is classical, 1.5 hours for first 40 moves, and from 41st move is also 40 minutes increment. And Magnus Carlsen opened this game with queen pawn move d2 to d4. And Jan responds with king's knight maneuver, knight to f6, c4, e6, and here Magnus went to knight f3 square with his knight because he wants to prevent some Nemtsovich defense after bishop b4, where it's not so easy to get a big advantage. Here knight f3, d5. And simply Magnus Carlsen simplified the position after capture on d5, knight c3, c6 and bishop f4. We see the calm, very calm position where there is no some aggressive play from both sides. Simply bishop f5, e3, and after this move we see a Carlsbad pawn structure, and here is simply calm position without any aggressive play. a3, bishop went to e7 square, and g4 move from Magnus side. He took advantage on king's side, and now bishop is under attack. Bishop went to e4, and here Magnus by some reason didn't take a bishop on e4 because he didn't want to give an opportunity to Jan to go with his bishop to b4. And here, for example, after a3, is it also possible to give an unpleasant check to white's king? And here, simply after bishop e4 move, Magnus realized that he said he can simply move to bishop e2 and queen b6, and after this move a pawn on b2 is under attack, and Magnus simply offered a queen exchange, queen b3. And here, after queen exchange that also was in this game, here a little bit fractured pawn structure by Magnus on queen side, but if you talk about an evaluation of this position, white is perhaps a little bit slightly better because here is not any defense from capture on e4, and here really Magnus will have 2 bishop advantage. Yep, pawn structure on queen side is a little bit fractured, but it really doesn't really matter. Knight h4. Bishop went to b4 and simply capture on g6, and f3 move was played by Magnus in this game. What is the most important idea? To play king f2, somehow maybe bishop d3, king g3 to defend h3 pawn, and for instance the main idea of Magnus here is to play e4, somehow push a pawn in the center with an idea to push this pawn forward to e5, attacking black's knight. King f8, reasonable move from Jan. Idea is to move knight to e6, attacking dark square bishop, and also knight on e6 will be really good placed on the center of the board. And here somehow maybe c5 would be possible. Knight on e6 will help with this idea. King f2. knight went to e6, bishop went to g3, because here Magnus had the two bishop advantage, and he simply doesn't want to give away this dark light bishop. Bishop went to g3, king e7, h4, a6. All these moves are reasonable from both sides. King went to g2 with an idea maybe to go with bishop on f2 to that pawn on e3 will be always under defense. Rook a d8 and bishop f2, bishop d6. I don't know what is the main reason of this move, because bishop on b4 was placed not bad, and here really Jan always had an idea of probably go to a5, b5, rook a8, maybe somehow a4, because he has a really pawn adventure on queen side, 4 pawns against 3, and maybe here Jan should have played somehow in this way, but bishop d6 was played in this game, bishop d3, and here I simply cannot explain the latest idea from Jan's side, bishop b8, and after Magnus moved knight a4, bishop went on d6 square. What is the idea? Simply to lose two tempos in this position. It's simply dubious, I guess, from Jan's side. I don't really understand what was the idea to went bishop to b8 and simply to return d6, but this was played in this game, bishop e1, and here Jan showed all of us that he is really an attacking style chess player, and he simply cannot live without some position simplifying. And here after c5 move, that is a really big mistake, because here in this endgame Jan will always have isolated pawn on d5 square, and here is also open position where two bishop advantage will play a big role. And here after bishop d2, rook h e8 and b4 move, here black's position is almost strategically lost, because after bishop b6 Magnus have always idea to play b5, attacking a6 pawn. Capture on b5 is almost impossible, because after exchange on b5 rook is under attack, and rook had to move to, for example, to h8, and here simply bishop b4 check, king e8, rook d1, rook c1, e4, and this position is maximally unpleasant. But here Jan played a5, Magnus he played took, and simply extra pawn from for Norwegian world chess champion, and no real compensation. King d6, king f2, because here after this move pawn on e3 is under attack. White simply defend this pawn, and rook e7. Also a kind of strange move from Jan's side, because it's a really a good question what kind of role this rook plays on e7 square. Simply rook d8, rook d1 was a continuation from Magnus, and here rook h8 also is a good question why Jan hadn't played rook d8 in this position, because after b6 and after pawn capture on e3, here after g5, knight h5 and bishop e4, black could have a really big problems consisted with black's rook on e3, because after for example rook b3 move, white could take simply a pawn, and it simply doesn't matter with which rook. Here white's position is almost winning. Yeah, and rook h8 move was played in this position, g5, knight went to d7, and rook went to a4, simply to defend the pawn on h4, knight c5. It is a fork to queen and to bishop and to rook. But here after rook g4 move, king c7, bishop b1 was played in this game. Here computer already evaluates this position like a +5 to Magnus because he had an extra pawn. Pawn on d5 is almost dead because here is not really possible to this pawn defend with rooks, and was played rook e5, bishop a2. Jan simply played f6, simply exchange, and rook took on d5. Now is already 2 extra pawns from current world chess champion, king g3 knight e5. Here Jan didn't take a pawn on b2 because white could simply take on g6, and here is simply a free pawn, and here position is simply lost. Jan played knight e5, rook f4, rook d8, and after b6 check, Jan simply resigned because here black should have to take on b6, and after a pawn capture on f6 with immediate check, here is after king c5 move, bishop b7 is already 3 extra pawns for Magnus Carlsen, and simple position is lost. And here Jan resigned, and no any difficult, no any some crazy moves was played by Magnus. Simply Jan Nepomniachtchi couldn't really managed with his play, and really Jan Nepomniachtchi lost. Not even Magnus had won this game. Big congratulations to Magnus Carlsen. He had won a game against Jan Nepomniachtchi, and really it is only one decisive game on the first day of Sinquiefield Cup. I appreciate that you finished with me this view of this game, and see you soon in the next video.